Well, Trump brand is very important, even prior to him being president. And obviously, all of these Trump brands all around the world on real estate are royalty-based businesses. I particularly love that because you don't need a lot of capital, but you get a lot of cash flow. So I've admired what he's done from the business perspective. I bet you, if it's true that this election is going to be decided by independent voters, if I polled 10,000 independent voters right now, let's say I could just wave a magic wand and do that on a panel, I bet you after all of these 6 weeks or whatever it's been, even if you watch the synopsis every night on the news somewhere, whatever outlet you watch, you are still 99% totally confused on what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
And, even if you spent full all day listening to this, which some people did, you're still confused. And so I just wonder in that group of jurors if a few of them are just looking at each other saying, I don't know. This is a mess. I don't even understand what the judge is telling me to do. That's why I'm asking you to read it over to me again, because they can't take it printed in and read it. I don't know what's going to happen here, but I just look at it and say to myself, wow, this is bad for the American brand. That's what I keep going at.
All right, guys, so we have to continue our coverage of the backlash that the establishment and Democrats are receiving for the guilty verdict that was issued against Trump during the hush money trial in New York. Now, everybody knows that because this trial was held in New York, Trump did not have a fair shot. Even the mainstream liberal media admits this. And because of that, again, Democrats are getting a whole lot of backlash in multiple forms. Now, we really don't know yet or for certain how this is going to affect former President Trump's chances of getting reelected. And there are going to be a ton of snapshot polls that are going to happen after this conviction. But I would not take much stock in the polls until probably 2 or 3 weeks, right? Give it some time to really sink in, and then we can kind of come to some conclusions about whether or not this is overall positive or overall negative. But what we do know, at least as of now, it is positive for the Trump campaign in the sense that Trump is raising a record amount of money. He's raising an astronomical amount of cash here. He just announced that in 24 hours, they've raised nearly $53 million after this guilty verdict. Now, in my initial reaction to this, when the number was at 34 million after like 6 or 7 hours, which is insane to think about, right? Absolutely insane to think about. I said, yeah, Trump's going to raise $100 million off of this alone, okay? And a lot of these donations are coming from small dollar donors, normal, everyday people. The Trump campaign says a third of these people have never donated before, right? So you have new people coming in that are motivated to go out and to vote for Trump, okay, as a result of this conviction. Also, what you have here is not just small dollar donors now supporting Trump, normal everyday people. You also have business leaders that are coming out, that are speaking out and donating to Trump after this verdict, because the writing's on the wall here. I said this, people like Kevin O'Leary came out and said this, spoke out on this. A lot of business people spoke out on this, and they said, listen, if they can go out to Trump for essentially doing what every businessman does in real estate, then they can go out to anybody, okay? If you don't fall in line with the politics of the Democrat Party, of the state of New York, they can bankrupt you, okay? They can trump up charges against you and try to take all of your money and throw you in jail. And that scares a lot of these people. Again, to the point where a lot of them are coming out now and they're donating to Trump and they're supporting Trump. And, of course, the mainstream liberal media, MSNBC, they are coping with this reality that the business community is rallying behind Trump. They're donating to him. They are supporting his campaign due to the obvious political persecution against him.
Meanwhile, hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman is leaning toward backing Donald Trump in the presidential election. Ackman had endorsed Nikki Haley during the primaries and previously has donated to Democrats. This news follows the recent announcement by another Wall Street billionaire, Steven Schwartzman, that he would support Trump as a, quote, vote for change. Let's bring in co-anchor of CNBC's Squawk Box, Andrew Ross Sorkin. He also is a columnist for the New York Times and NBC News senior business analyst and host of the 11th Hour, Stephanie Ruhle. Good morning to you both. Steph, I know you've been working the phones all night after this verdict came down, talking to some of your sources on Wall Street. So what is the calculus for somebody like Bill Ackman? Is it as plain as it sounds, which is lower corporate taxes, less regulation, and the like?
Listen, I'm not going to speak to Bill specifically, but remember, it was a year and a half ago. All sorts of big GOP donors, Wall Street guys, were like, you know what, we're done with Trump. It's time for a Ron DeSantis or a Nikki Haley. And they thought he had too much baggage. They weren't happy with January 6th. But lo and behold, Nikki's not an option. Ron's not an option. And they are remembering Donald Trump is a transactional guy, and so are they. They know that if you side with Trump when he's down, which he clearly is now, doesn't really cost you anything. And come 6 months from now, when and if he's the next president, that's an extraordinary get out of jail free card for them, right?
Look, some of this is about power, proximity to power. That's a huge part of this. Some of this is about what's going to happen in 2025 when the Trump tax cuts expire and what comes next. So there's the financial component. And then when you look at somebody like Bill Ackman, actually, he's somebody who was, and I think he's the most surprising switch so far, because he was a long time, a very vocal and a very vocal Democrat who had backed Democrats financially before. But he's somebody who I think, on the whole, has taken the position that he's unhappy with what's going on around DEI issues in America, what's happening on university campuses, what's happening in Israel, and the way that the Biden administration's reacted, and frankly, with the age of Biden.
Yeah, so you see now, you heard that, okay? Now, again, the mainstream liberal media, they're going to go out of their way to smear the billionaires that are supporting Trump, okay? They're going to pretend like they have a problem with billionaires donating to political candidates, but yet they don't have a problem with it when they donate to Biden, okay? The billionaires that support Biden are celebrated. The billionaires that support Trump, they are ostracized, right? Which is why a lot of these people that support Trump, they're doing so in secret because of fear of social backlash, right? And it's really a damn shame that we live in this type of country. And this is why I try to tell you guys when it comes to the polls, you got to be careful in regards to how you analyze them. But I am pretty bullish on them for the most part because Trump tends to underperform in the polls, and he overperforms in the election because there's so many people that are afraid to come out and say, yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump, right? This is what happened in 2016. Trump overperformed the polls. He won. In 2020, Trump also overperformed the polls because according to the polls, Biden should have won by more than he actually won. But, I'm hoping that with the polls being effectively tied with Trump slightly in the lead, that Trump overperforms the polls come this November, right? So with that being said, let's read about these business leaders sounding off on supporting Trump. Business leaders sounded off following former President Trump's conviction in his New York criminal trial. Billionaire Elon Musk and other mega wealthy Americans threw their support behind Trump after the verdict came down on Thursday, with one donating $300,000 alone. Quote, I just donated $300K to Trump. I'm prepared to lose friends. Here's why, Sequoia founder Sean McGuire wrote in an extended post on X. Quote, back in 2016, I had drunk the media Kool-Aid and was scared out of my mind about Trump. As such, I donated to Hillary Clinton's campaign and voted for her. By 2020, I was disillusioned and didn't vote. I didn't like either option. Now in 2024, I believe this is one of the most important elections of my lifetime, and I'm supporting Trump, he added. Musk responded to McGuire on social media saying simply, quote, I think you're right. Of course he's right. He's 100% right. That's how a lot of these people are feeling because they see the writing on the wall. They're saying, well, if they can do this to Trump, they can definitely do this to me if I fall out of line politically, okay? And we are seeing that not only is this done to Trump, but also is done to Elon Musk. Think about how much effort the establishment, the mainstream liberal media, has put into trying to take down X after Trump bought Twitter. Okay, they went out of their way to smear Elon Musk to try to destroy his $44 billion investment. This is what they do if you don't go along with the left-wing agenda. Musk also responded to criticism of the ruling, arguing that Trump's conviction has caused great damage to the U.S. justice system. Quote, indeed, great damage was done today to the public's faith in the American legal system. If a former president can be criminally convicted over such a trivial matter, motivated by politics rather than justice, then anyone is at risk of a similar fate, he wrote. This is 100% true. Okay, and they should be hyper aware of this, especially somebody like Elon Musk, who, again, we all know that he's faced backlash from the mainstream liberal media and others I mean, this guy apparently is being considered for an advisory role in the Trump administration when it comes to crypto, and he's going to host a town hall on X with Trump. Okay, so again, you have people like Elon Musk, who I don't think is a fan of Trump as a person per se, but again, they all see the writing on the wall. Everybody sees the writing on the wall. Kraft Ventures executive David Sachs described McGuire's donation as an act of courage. He argued that Trump has, quote, a lot of supporters in Silicon Valley, but many are just afraid to admit it. Again, it's a damn shame we live in a country where people are afraid to admit that they support the best man for the job, right, to be president of the United States. Quote, with each act of courage like this one, the dam begins to break, he added. Trump described the trial's verdict as a disgrace on Thursday. He is expected to appeal the ruling. Yeah, so with that being said, I want to react to another business leader and real estate investor that is speaking out after Trump's ruling. And he talks about how nobody wants to do business in New York City because of this. Now, this is Grant Cardone. This video is not about whether or not you like Grant Cardone or whether or not you think that his business practices are ethical or anything having to do with his business. It's just simply about the fact that this guy says he doesn't want to do business in New York City anymore because of this.
New York criminal trial. Investor Grant Cardone joins me. Grant, you will no longer be doing business in New York City because of Trump's guilty verdict. Tell me more, please.
Absolutely not, Stuart. I mean, I said this when the ruling came out for the $355 million that I couldn't. We had $500 million to invest in New York City this year. We have since reallocated that money to Florida real estate. New York City is...
Well, you don't trust the legal system in New York? You don't trust the politics here? Is that it?
Well, you already... As many great things that are going on in New York City, you just have too many other risks that as a fiduciary of other people's money, I can't raise the rents. I can't evict. I cannot predict the taxes. We're going to reward people. I literally might be required to provide housing to illegal people. I can't collect the rents and I can't get them out of the property. I can't call the police to actually do anything when there's a crime on the property. If I can't collect my rents, I don't know what my expenses are going to be. Why would I do business there? And after yesterday's ruling, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want 38 convictions or 34 convictions. I don't want 7 years, something I did 7 years ago, to be a problem today.
Do you know of any other investors, real estate or otherwise, who are pulling out of New York and New York State?
I have 15,000 investors with me at Cardone Capital. We've raised $1.3 billion. If I went to them today and said, I want to invest in New York City, they would not give me money to do that.
Let's suppose
one of the greatest cities on planet Earth.
Yep. Agreed.
And nobody wants to go there and do business.
Who do you blame for all of this?
Well, I blame the legal system. You know, this is clearly the political system's been weaponized. The legal system's been weaponized. If they can do this to Donald Trump, a former president, regardless of how you feel about the politics, if they can do this to a former president, what can they do to Grant Cardone? What can they do to any other businessman? And that is why so many business people, hedge fund operators, and investors are leaving blue states. I left California 13 years ago because I saw this coming.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is the same thing that Kevin O'Leary was saying, and I'm pretty sure a lot of business leaders are thinking this way. Unfortunately, there are not enough of them that are speaking out, right, and actually coming out and saying that, hey, what is happening is not right. This is not good for business. Okay, this is not good for America. It's not good for capitalism. But what he's saying is that, listen, it's not just all of the other red tape and the policies of Democrats that make it hard to do business in a place like New York, high taxes, being soft on crime, enforcement of the laws, okay, other things as well too, like allowing illegal immigration and forcing people to house illegals and things like that. Yeah, that's just not that, right? It's also the fact that you've now weaponized the legal system to go after people that you disagree with politically. If you don't like their politics, you're going to go after them for petty crimes, okay, that you normally wouldn't charge anybody with, which is what they did to Trump. Again, if you're a businessman and you see something like that, you're like, you know what, I'm going to stay away from New York, right? I really don't want to go to a place like that because that is an added risk. And in capitalism and business, risk is everything, man. You have to assess the risk of an investment versus the potential reward. And if the risk is too high, then you avoid making the investment. New York Democrats are increasing the risk of investing in their states, in their cities, because of the added political risk to doing business there, due to the fact that if you're not on their side when it comes to politics, they go after you, right? And this is exactly what's happening. And again, I definitely understand why people are speaking out about this and why a lot of money, okay, big money, is now backing Trump, because they know that, okay, well, I don't want this to happen to me, right? I don't want America to continue to go down this road because, hey, my viewpoints, my opinions aren't necessarily 100% aligned with the left, right? I may have some right-leaning opinions or some right-leaning viewpoints, and I don't want them digging in my closet trying to trump up charges against me in order to try to, take me out because they don't like my political viewpoints.
Quick question. If there's almost certainly going to be an appeal to these guilty verdicts, if the guilty verdicts are reversed, will you come back to New York?
Well, once things settle down and there's some predictability. Look, as an investor, I need to be able to predict the future as much as possible. I'm not Nostradamus, but I need things on my side. As great a city as New York City is, I need stability in the marketplace. And right now, you have problems picking up the trash. You can't get rid of the illegals. You guys got so many problems going. I don't know why anybody stays there right now. Why would I invest there when I can come to Miami or Fort Lauderdale or anywhere in Florida?
A good question, and I understand where you're coming from entirely, because I do have to live here. Grant Cardone, thanks very much for joining us. I hope to see you again soon. Thanks, sir.
Ding, 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 ding. Right. Why would anybody go there to live when you can go to a place like Texas or Florida, right? You don't have to deal with the harsh winter, okay? It's warm most of the year, okay? Or maybe go to a state like Tennessee, North Carolina, maybe even go out Midwest. Low taxes, low cost of living. People are realizing that, hey, there are better options than these liberal cities. There are better options than Portland. There are better options than San Francisco. There are better options than Los Angeles. There's better options than New York City. There are better options than Philadelphia. There are better options than Washington, D.C. And people are leaving these cities in droves because of these policies, right? Because of the fact that, hey, not only is the cost of living high, there's a lot of regulation, a lot of red tape. It's hard to do business. But now you have the political risk of being on the wrong side of the political aisle, and now Democrats weaponizing the state against you. And again, that is sending a lot of red flags to people, and it is essentially forcing a lot of people in the business community to start backing Trump and coming out here and being loud about it and saying that, hey, I got to get behind Trump because of this, okay? And this is a part of the backlash against Democrats and why I think that ultimately this will backfire on them. But again, it remains to be seen exactly how much this will backfire, or, if this is something that ultimately will benefit Democrats. I don't think that it will, but we'll see. Okay, we'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.